And this is Adam Fishman turning it over to Steve Goldberg, our moderator. Steve?
Thanks, Adam. Our guest, Major General Yaakov Amidror, has credentials that are too long for me to go over. We would use the entire time we have for the session, but I'll give you some highlights of his background in the security and military field. He was with the IDF for 36 years. From April 2011 to November 2013, he was the National Security Advisor to Prime Minister Netanyahu. He's now with the Begin Sadat Center for Strategic Studies. He was the commander of the IDF military colleges, military secretary for the Ministry of Defense, and director of intelligence. He's also written books on military matters. Again, it's an endless list. With that, I will introduce Major General Amidror. It's our honor to have him, and we'll have some comments from him, and then I will be posing some questions. Thank you. General?
First of all, I want to open with to wish you Shana Tova to all of you, and I hope that it will be a better year for all of us. I want to begin with the situation after the Gaza operation. It is now, it's the end of the operation. What we are trying to do is to learn the lessons, but I think that at the end of the day, we faced a very critical situation in which the government had to make decisions during the operation, and at the end of the day, the decision which was taken was not to finish once for all the issue of Hamas, but to go to another operation that at the end is supposed to have arrangements through the Egyptians, and we insisted that it will be through the Egyptians, not the Qataris, not the Turks, which intend to the side of the Hamas. And the decision means that at the end of the day, we will have an arrangement, formally or not formally, with Hamas through the Egyptians, and the test will be the length of the quiet afterwards. And we are now facing a situation in which we will have to help the people of Gaza to rebuild the civilian infrastructure in Gaza, which was many parts of it was destroyed through the operation, and we will have to deal with the international in the international arena with those who are criticizing Israel because of this destruction, and to make all the efforts that they understand that there is no any other way to fight terrorists who are acting from within their own people, using the people as a human shield. These two areas, the international arena and the quiet in Gaza, are the two big tests that we are facing now because of the operation, after the operation. But we are not making the mistake to put the importance of Hamas, with all due respect, first in the list. And we understand that the issue of nuclear Iran is the most important issue, and we should not forget it, and we have to make all the efforts to be sure that no bad agreement will be agreed between the P5+1 and Iran. As the Secretary of State said, bad agreement is worse than no agreement, and we should insist that if there is an agreement, it will be a good one. It's not easy, because too many people around the world prefer to have an agreement because they don't want to think even about the other option that the President said is on the table. So here we are facing two different situations. One is the result of the operation. The other one is we depend on the decision of the P5+1 led by United States of America. And I hope that in those two areas we will find the best solution to continue the quiet and to prevent any bad agreement with the Iranians. Israel is not taking part in the effort of United States of America directly against the ISIS, but we understand that what we did against Hamas is part of the of the war against terrorism. The same is our continuous efforts to contain the Hezbollah and so on. And at the end, we will have to find a way how to do it. So this is the beginning, and now I open to questions.
All right, General, I'm going to start with a tough one. And I know you've actually written an article and said that if when one considers the strategic purpose of Operation Protective Edge, that Israel succeeded. Yet Hamas was shooting rockets until the last day, and people in the south around the Gaza belt don't feel secure. In view of the fact that Israel had no opposition in the air, their force could attack without being counterattacked at all. Do you really believe that Israel succeeded in deterring future attacks, not only by Hamas but by Hezbollah and other possible enemies of Israel?
I don't know. The answer is that deterrence is something which is very complicated. And there is no way to measure it. We have two good examples. One is the Six-Day War, the best war that Israel had. We won in all battles. We took the West Bank, we took the Sinai. I'm not speaking about the political side, only about the military side. But at the end of the day, a few years afterwards, 2 years afterwards, we had attrition war, and 6 years after that, we faced the Yom Kippur War. And if you put on the other side the war in the operation in 2006 in Lebanon, everyone came out of the operation with bad feelings. We didn't like what we saw, tactically, operationally, strategically, whatever. And at the end of the day, no one rocket was launched by Hezbollah since then. So I don't know how you measure it. I hope that the combination of the fact that we succeeded to kill, I believe, at least 1,000 members of Hamas, destroying the infrastructure of its domestic capabilities to produce rockets and launchers, and the fact that on the other side of the border, the government of Egypt is determined not to let Hamas to rebuild its capabilities. I think all this combination together will bring us to a long quiet. And if that happens, the test is in the pudding. At the end of the day, that will be looked and be judged as a huge success. But nothing is guaranteed. We don't know how it will work and what Hamas decisions will be. The minute that the government decided not to take over Gaza and to make the research and search and kill operation inside Gaza after conquering it, destroying all the launchers and killing all the Hamas members and cleaning Gaza from the capabilities of the Hamas, there is no way to guarantee quiet but by deterrence. And as I said, deterrence is something which you can measure only the post facto.
There is a doctrine, I think it was first espoused by Colin Powell in the United States, that if the United States is going to enter into any kind of military conflict, it's going to go in with overwhelming force. And then there was the word shock and awe. With Operation Protective Edge, it seemed that Israel was reluctant to use that philosophy and instead ratcheted up the pressure slowly. Would you say that that's a fair characterization?
By the way, with all due respect to General Powell, and I have a lot of respect, if you look at the Americans in Afghanistan or in Iraq, you could see that there is a big gap between talks and walk. And then at the end of the day, Israel is not the United States of America. We are a little country, and not everything which fits the the doctrine of United States of America can be adopted by Israel. But I think that here what we saw is improvement in our capabilities, mainly in the intelligence, and it was not a decision to begin slowly and then to run, but we did every day the best that we could. And at the end it took 50 days, but at the end of the 50 days, Hamas didn't get anything. They had the same offer of ceasefire on the table. After a week, it was not accepted by Hamas. And it was accepted after 50 days, in which they lost many people. And a lot of their infrastructure was destroyed. So I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you call it, but I think that the test will be in the future on the length of the quiet.
How intense was the political pressure from the United States to stop Operation Protective Edge?
I think that there was not any pressure to stop. I think that the Americans didn't like the idea that was heard here in Israel to extend the operation and to go into Gaza and to take it over and to go to a big operation, including conquering the urban area of Gaza. But when we kept the level of the operation, including destroying the tunnels in the level of as it went through the 50 days, I didn't see any pressure from the Americans. Even when they said something negative, it was not about the length of the operation, but about the number of civilian casualties on the other side. And I believe that it was based on how to call it, the fact that not all the knowledge were in the hands of the Americans, and they didn't know the real numbers. When the real numbers will be revealed after the very hard work that we are doing today, it will be understood that the ratio is between 2 to 3 to 1 to 1. I mean, much better than any other military operation either in Kosovo, Afghanistan, or in Iraq. It's a high standard that will be adopted by the other military systems in the world, will change the character of war. The effort that the IDF did to prevent collateral damage and innocent casualties, which is unheard of. So I think that was the condemnation and even some days of stopping the munition, the providing of munition which was needed by the IDF by the Americans was based on a mistake, big mistake.
At one point there was an embargo of Ben Gurion Airport for 36 hours, and then a report that the Pentagon was going to stop shipping weapons to Israel. That's not correct?
It's not connected, I think. The Pentagon decision was a political one, as I said, based on big misunderstanding of the real numbers and the real casualties. Unlike the bureaucratic decision about stopping the flights into and from airport, the alleged airport, Ben Gurion Airport, that was a decision which was taken by the bureaucracy based on numbers and criteria that they have. When they got all the explanations from us, the same bureaucracy made different decisions.
Has the problem with the Pentagon and the shipping of the military supplies been solved?
Yes, it was solved after a few days. As I said, I believe that it was based on a big mistake or misunderstanding of the facts.
With regard to Iran, there have been reports that the United States is looking to cooperate with Iran to help fight ISIS. And we know the Prime Minister addressed that yesterday in front of the United Nations. Is that have any effect on Israel's calculations as to what it's going to do about the Iranian nuclear threat?
The answer is no. The fact that the police is using one gang to fight another gang is not a reason for the for the FBI not to fight both of them. So I don't think that that will make any difference for Israel. It will be a bad agreement with Iran.
Okay, and then how reliable do you believe Israel's intelligence is about how advanced the nuclear program is?
We don't speak about our intelligence, but basically I think that we can evaluate the situation very close to the real reality.
I have a question from Helen Friedman from AFSI. Actually, two questions. One is, can you speak about why in the speech in front of the United Nations yesterday, the Prime Minister talked about peace requiring territorial compromise? Is that something that's still being seriously considered in Israel at this point?
No question that if we got to the point in which we have serious negotiations with the Palestinians, territorial issue will be on the table, and we will have to be flexible in this area. There is no any way to get to an agreement without flexibility in this area, and I think it's either you want an agreement and then you have to understand that compromises are needed, or you think that an agreement is not needed and then you don't have to compromise. I believe the Prime Minister, when he says that he wants an agreement with the Palestinians, there is no way to get such an agreement without compromises on the ground.
In view of what Mahmoud Abbas said at the United Nations on Friday and the other statements coming from the Palestinian Authority, do you believe that there is a partner for negotiations with the Palestinians at the moment?
If you judge Abu Mazen just on what he said in the United Nations, he made the decision not to have any negotiation. And this is kind of a declaration of divorce from the process. But I learned that in the Middle East, never say never. And I don't know what will happen in the future. If you judge him only based on what he said in the United Nations, his decision is probably not to negotiate.
The Iron Dome system was very, very successful in fending off rockets from Gaza. But there's concern that if there's trouble in the north from Hezbollah, that Hezbollah has 10 times as many rockets and some actual guided missiles. Are Israel's defenses capable of blocking all or almost all of those as well?
Here is the technical question that first I want to say about Iron Dome, that everyone will be familiar with the facts. First, the Iron Dome, this system of today is better than the system that we had in the previous operation in 1 year and a half before that. And we are advancing it all the time based on the lessons that we are learning from the operation and the way which it was used. We didn't finish to build the forces. We got a lot of money from the United States of America. Thanks to American taxpayer, we have today much more capabilities and interceptors than in the past. But we are in the process of building more batteries and more interceptors, and we will have more at the end. And the numbers that we will have will be numbers which fit, which are relative to what we expect in the north. We will never be enough interceptors to intercept all the 150,000 rockets and missiles that Hezbollah has. The more accurate weapon systems and other problems it might face in the future, this is why we are going with the Americans. If Iron Dome was a pure Israeli system, we have other two projects, the David Sling and the Arrow 3, which each of them has its own capabilities, and it will be much more accurate, much more faster, and price is going with it, I mean it will be much, much more expensive. So we didn't stop the building our capabilities, and it is true that the problem that we are facing in the north is much bigger than in the south, but the same can be said about our capabilities in the future. It will be much better than in the past. So we are preparing ourselves. There is no solution to all the problems, and at the end of the day, some of them will be solved by other means. Not everything is active defense. There are other capabilities that Israel has. So we build it and we will use it when it will be needed.
From Susan Cohn, there's a question, and this has to do with Hezbollah again. Is there a concern that when the United States supplies arms to Lebanon or to any of the parties in the north, that ultimately those weapons will be seized and used against Israel?
It might, but the weapon systems which were provided by the Americans to the Lebanese army are not in the level which will make the difference in the capabilities of Hezbollah. But in principle, the answer is yes. Some of this weapon system might leak into the hands of Hezbollah.
There were reports that in Egypt, al-Sisi made a proposal to give part of the Sinai to create a Palestinian state that would be next to Gaza. Do you know if those reports are true? And if so, what do you think about it?
I don't think it's true. I don't think that the Egyptians, which do not like Hamas, will give up part of their land for the benefit of the Palestinians, and for sure when it is Hamas. So I don't think there is any, that it's a real offer which was offered by the Egyptians. No.
So then Abu Mazen, you believe, lied when he made that statement?
I didn't hear him saying it, so I don't know what he said, and
yes.
I don't want to call anyone liar. If you ask me if there was such an offer, I'll be very much surprised if there was one.
I want to talk about some internal security. There are reports that Jerusalem has become increasingly dangerous for the Jews. More and more rock attacks, attacks on buses, violence. Do you know if there are increased security measures being taken in Jerusalem?
I have two daughters in Jerusalem, and if you compare Jerusalem to Washington, D.C., there are more places in Washington, D.C. that I will not recommend you to go than in Jerusalem. There are some areas in the areas which are near the Arab quarters of Jerusalem that are more sensitive. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's a big issue. It came after the operation in Gaza. I can understand the reaction of the Palestinians. It's their families, brothers, and so on and so forth. I still remember the murdering of a young Palestinian by Israelis, something that, I didn't believe that it happened, that it can happen to Jews to behave like animals. And that brought more sensitivities to the area. And these are the areas in which we have to cope with the Arab Palestinians who are living inside Jerusalem, and to try to make it more secure and more quiet.
With regard to the Temple Mount, do you believe that there should be more access to Jews to be able to pray on the Temple Mount?
Look, the Temple Mount is a very sensitive area, and we will have to be very careful not to put more oil into the fire. I think that we should not stop Jews to go into the Temple Mount. I think that we should do it, as I said, carefully, not to give the other side the excuses to make demonstrations against it, but to be very sensitive to the need of Jews to go there. I'm not sure that pray is the main issue there, but if someone thinks that this is the issue, slowly it might be changed. If I don't see ourselves going now to change the status quo on the mountain. Maybe we made mistake in '67 when we didn't allow the Jews to control it, but something which had been done so many years ago. You cannot change in one night or even in 1 month. We should be very clear about it. Jews should go to the Temple Mountain, visit it as much as they want, as much as they need. Prayers is another issue, and we should be very careful not to bring the situation to the point in which it will break and make the whole area even more problematic.
I have a question. I think it's from Stuart Ain. It's being reported that there is a Western proposal to Iran that would permit a 1-year warning if Iran would begin to develop a nuclear weapon. Do you know if that report is true, and if so, would that be acceptable?
I don't know if there is such an offer. The question is not time, because time depends on the ability to supervise and to have an intelligence. What we want, that from the capability point of view, not from the intention point of view, they will not have the ability to make any breakthrough towards a bomb. And this is why I think that if this offer is true, we should not accept it.
We also see reports, people say Israel most militarily could ever do was set back the Iranian nuclear program a year or two. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that, but I heard the same story about the Iraqi reactor, and the setback is till today. So, the Middle East, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years is a long time. Everything can change there. And what is the alternative? Not to do anything and to give them the opportunity to produce it whenever they want within a few months. So even if it is true, and I'm not going to numbers, even if it's true, the logic behind an operation is the same. If you can postpone it, postpone it. You can stop it, stop it. Whatever you can do, because the alternative is doing nothing.
Steve, if I can jump in here for a moment. Yeah. We're actually going to, before we have our final question, I just want to take the opportunity to thank everyone that's been on the call. I want to thank Major General Yaakov Amidror. We are going to have one last question, and also to remind everyone to, if they would like to hear this again, to go to our website, aflikud.org, and to show your support for American Friends of Likud so that we can continue to provide more educational opportunities such as this. And General Amidror, I hope that we will have the opportunity when our leadership is in Israel at the end of October, perhaps, to meet with you once again to assess to assess the situation and get your insight and analysis after the Chagim. But I will turn it over to Steve for one final question, and then we'll close it.
Yes, again, General Amidror, if you had to, summarize what is the largest single threat facing Israel right now, what would you say it is?
I think that the priority is to deal with the terrorist organization like Hamas and others. But the most important and most threatening one, no question, is nuclear Iran. This is the only threat that can endanger the existence of Israel. And this is why it is first number one in the list of threats that we should deal with, even if there are some other threats that, because of what happened on the ground, we should deal with first.
And with that, I want to just thank once again Major General Yaakov Amidror for your time, for your insight this late hour.
I want to enter one sentence. You ask many questions about threats, but remember at the same time the GDP of Israel is going up. The technology in Israel is a leading one in the world. It's not just a startup nation. It is a nation with many, many successes in the area of culture, agriculture, and so on and so forth. So we intend as Jews to focus on when there is a 3/4 of a glass with water, we focus on the fourth which is missing. But we have to remember that there are 3/4 which are full in this glass that we call the State of Israel.
And on that very positive note, I want to wish everyone a Shana Tova, a Gemar Chatima Tova, and to enjoy all of the holidays as we approach them. Thank you again, Major General Yaakov Amidror. Steve Goldberg, thank you for being such a wonderful moderator, and we look forward to seeing you all again at our event and, of course, on our conference call. Thanks. Have a good night, everyone.
Shana Tova.